Good evening, and welcome once more to Brush Up Your Shakespeare, where we make Shakespeare fun and easy, the way it was always meant to be. This is episode 19, and today we are now in Hamlet Act 4, scenes 6 through 7. Here's the title slide. There it is. And the quote for today from these scenes is to cut his throat in the church. Repeat it with me, to cut his throat in the church. And one more time, to cut his throat in the church. We'll get to exactly what that line means and why it is said later on in the episode. But first, a brief recap. Laertes has returned from France to Denmark to avenge the death of his father, Polonius. Because Polonius was buried in secret, Laertes thinks Claudius must have had something to do with it and marches on the castle with a large crowd of supporters to overthrow the monarchy. Claudius, using all his political wiles, manages to calm Laertes and get him to understand it is Hamlet who is to blame for the death of Polonius, Laertes' father. Of course, Hamlet is no longer in Denmark, having been sent by Claudius in the company of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to England. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern carry sealed letters from Claudius to the King of England, when, once opened, will command the immediate execution of Hamlet. Just as Claudius is getting Laertes calmed down, who should enter but Laertes' sister, Ophelia, now driven completely mad by her father's death. Laertes is overwhelmed with grief and desire for revenge. Once more, Claudius gets a handle on the situation, redirecting Laertes' anger toward Hamlet, now gone from Denmark and never to return. Or is he? And that recap brings us up to Act 4, Scene 6, where we begin now. Some sailors bring letters to Horatio, Hamlet's friend, who is still in Denmark. And who should the letter be from but Hamlet? Horatio reads the letter out loud, and now we get to find out what's been going on with Hamlet since he started his voyage to England. Horatio reads the letter. It starts, Horatio, when thou shalt have overlooked this, give these fellows some means to the king. In other words, allow them to get to the king. They have letters for him. So Hamlet's written letters for the king as well. I wonder what that letter says. Ere we were 2 days old at sea. So Hamlet's going to tell Horatio what happened. Ere we were 2 days old at sea, a pirate of very warlike appointment gave us chase. So there's pirates in Hamlet. I mean, they're off stage, but isn't that incredible? Isn't that great? There are pirates in Hamlet. So ere we were 2 days old at sea, a pirate in a pirate ship, a very warlike appointment gave us chase. Finding ourselves too slow of sail, we put on a compelled valor. And in the grapple is when the grappling hooks are thrown over and the ships are pulled together. But in the grapple, I boarded them. So Hamlet boards the pirate ship in the grapple. On the instant, they got clear of our ship. So as soon as Hamlet jumped over on the pirate ship, the ships parted. So I alone became their prisoner. They have dealt with me like thieves of mercy, but they knew what they did. I am to do a good turn for them. Let the king have the letters I have sent, and repair thou to me with as much speed as thou wouldst fly death. So hurry up, Horatio. I have words to speak, and thine ear will make thee dumb. Yet are they much too light for the bore of the matter. These good fellows will bring thee where I am, the sailors apparently. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern hold their course for England. Of them I have much to tell thee. Farewell. So now we know not only that Hamlet did not get executed in England, he actually is back in Denmark now. The sailors have also brought letters from Hamlet to Claudius and Gertrude, and Horatio provides a way those letters can be delivered. That ends Act 4, Scene 6. It's a very short scene, but a very important scene, as you will agree. Now to Scene 7, the last scene in Act 4. We find Claudius explaining to Laertes that Hamlet not only killed Laertes' father, Polonius, but he also tried to kill Claudius as well, thus strengthening the bond between Claudius and Laertes. The king says, that's Claudius, of course, that he which hath your noble father slain, that's Hamlet, pursued my life. Laertes says, "It well appears, but tell me why you proceeded not against these feats. Why are you letting Hamlet run around the castle mad if he's trying to take your life, king?" To which Claudius responds, "Oh, for two special reasons, which may to you perhaps seem much unsinewed, which is unmuscular, unmasculine, but yet to me they're strong. The queen, his mother, lives almost by his looks, and for myself, my virtue or my plague, be it either which. She is so conjunctive to my life, so important to my life and soul, that as the star moves not but in his sphere, I could not but by her." So, what Claudius is saying is, I adore my wife and she adores her son. So, how am I supposed to do anything about her son without offending her feelings toward me? The other motive, he says, why to a public count I might not go, is the great love the general gender, which means common people, bear him. So not only does the queen love Hamlet, so do the common people. So really, Claudius's hands are tied when it came to doing anything about Hamlet's madness. And I think Hamlet probably knew that and took advantage of that throughout the play up to this point. Laertes reflects that no matter how good Claudius may feel his reasons for inaction may have been, the damage to Laertes has been costly nonetheless. Laertes says, "And so have I a noble father lost, a sister driven into desperate terms, i.e., madness, whose worth, if praises may go back again, stood challenger on mount of all the age for her perfections. But my revenge will come." Laertes speaks of revenge against Hamlet. Claudius, knowing that he has already sent Hamlet to England to meet his death, begins hinting to Laertes that there may not be much left of Hamlet to kill when, at this most absolutely delicious moment, a letter is brought to Claudius by a messenger. And the messenger says, "Letters, my lord, from Hamlet. These to your majesty," that's to the king, "this to the queen." The king says, "From Hamlet? Who brought them?" The response is that some sailors brought the letters. We already know this, but Claudius is just finding out. Claudius orders everyone out of the chamber except for Laertes, whom he has taken into his confidence on the whole "let's get Hamlet" thing, and reads the letter. And this is what the letter says. The king reads, "High and mighty." This is how it's addressed to the king. "High and mighty, you shall know I am set naked on your kingdom." And naked there doesn't mean unclothed, it means unarmed. "You shall know I am set naked on your kingdom. I'm back. Tomorrow shall I beg leave to see your kingly eyes, when I shall first asking your pardon, thereunto recount the occasion of my sudden and more strange return." Hamlet. The king then says to Laertes, "What should this mean? Are all the rest come back? Or is it some abuse and no such thing?" Laertes says, "Know you the hand? Do you recognize the handwriting?" And the king says, "'Tis Hamlet's character. Yeah, I recognize it. Looks like Hamlet wrote it." Claudius is deeply confused as to how Hamlet could be writing him anything at all, and yet it certainly appears to be the case. For his part, Laertes is thrilled that he will be able to have his revenge personally upon Hamlet. Claudius conspires with Laertes as to how to kill Hamlet without any blame being attached to either Claudius or Laertes. The king says, "I will work him to an exploit now ripe in my device." In other words, I'm thinking about it and it's coming to fruition, my cunning plan, "under the which he shall not choose but fall." No matter what he chooses, he will fall. "And for his death, no wind of blame shall breathe, but even his mother shall uncharge the practice and call it accident." Laertes says, "My lord, I will be ruled. I will obey you. The rather, if you could devise it so that I might be the organ, or in other words, that I might be the one who kills Hamlet." It turns out that Laertes is incredibly talented at fencing, and that reports of his prowess have reached Denmark, making Hamlet envious and wanting very much to compete against Laertes. Of course, this is purely sport, the swords having buttons attached to the points on the end, so nobody can get hurt. Claudius makes certain Laertes is with him before revealing any more of his plan. And Claudius says, Hamlet comes back. What would you undertake to show yourself indeed your father's son, more than in words? And Laertes says, to cut his throat in the church. And there is our line for today, to cut his throat in the church. This statement means that Laertes would be happy to murder Hamlet, even in the most sacred precincts of the church, an act that would damn Laertes to hell forever. But Laertes doesn't care. That is how bent Laertes is on revenge. Not that he is actually going to kill Hamlet in a church, but he would kill Hamlet in a church if he needed to in order to get his revenge. To cut his throat in the church. Why the two apostrophes on the words in and the? Why not just say to cut his throat in the church when that's what it means anyway? We have talked a bit about the meter of the language in which Shakespeare wrote and how syllables are counted for a total of 10 per line in iambic pentameter. In order to make his lines fit, sometimes Shakespeare would write I or I with an apostrophe for in or th apostrophe for the. These abbreviations then don't count as syllables or count as only one syllable instead of two syllables. But the meaning is simply to cut his throat in the church. Now that Laertes is firmly with him, Claudius explains his plan for Laertes to accidentally kill Hamlet while fencing with him. Both fencers will be given a choice of which foil they wish to use from several such foils. One of the foils will not have a button on the end, but will be completely sharp and completely lethal. Laertes will arrange to choose that foil, and when he stabs Hamlet, Hamlet will die from the wound. The king says, But good Laertes, will you do this? Keep close within your chamber. Hamlet, returned, shall know you are come home. We'll put on those shall praise your excellence at fencing, right? And set a double varnish on the fame the Frenchman gave you. They talked earlier about a Frenchman who was going on and on about what a great swordsman Laertes is. So put a double varnish on the fame the Frenchman gave you. Bring you in fine together and wager on your heads. We'll make this a big deal in court. We'll actually have bets on who can win, Laertes or Hamlet. He, being remiss, most generous, and free from all contriving, Hamlet has no idea what we're up to. Will not peruse the foils, or in other words, examine them closely. He's not going to see that one of them doesn't have a button on the end and is actually sharp. So that with ease, or with a little shuffling, you may choose a sword unbaited, or without the button on the end. You may choose a sword unbaited, and in a pass of practice, requite him for your father. And requite means repay him for your father. You'll get your revenge that way, and it will seem like an accident. The button just sort of fell off the sword. It wasn't your fault. It could happen to anybody. You won't be blamed. And by the way, neither will I, says the king. Laertes has an idea to make the plot even better. He will put a lethal poison on the end of his foil, on the very point, so that even if the wound he gives Hamlet is not lethal, the poison will be. Laertes says, I'll touch my point with this contagion, i.e., poison, that if I gall him slightly or scratch him slightly, it may be death. Claudius, being very shrewd where murder by poison is concerned, comes up with a fallback position in case plan A should be a bust. Plan B will be a chalice filled with poison wine for Hamlet to drink when he is hot and tired from fencing. So even if Laertes can't even get a nick on Hamlet with his foil, there will be a plan B of poison in wine in a chalice that will be given Hamlet to drink when he is hot and thirsty. Here's how the king puts it. When in your motion, still speaking to Laertes, when in your motion you are hot and dry, as make your bouts more violent to that end, and that he calls for drink, I'll have prepared him a chalice for the nonce, whereon, but sipping, if he by chance escape your venomed stuck, our purpose may hold there. Yes, the pellet with the poison is in the chalice from the palace, And just as they have their dirty deed all plotted out, Gertrude enters with horrible news. Ophelia is dead. She says, "One woe doth tread upon another's heel, so fast they follow. Your sister's drowned, Laertes." Laertes, dumbstruck, asks where, and Gertrude gets to give a beautiful speech about how Ophelia drowned. Yes, it's actually kind of a famous little speech that the queen gives here. Not by suicide exactly, but Ophelia was sitting on a branch over some water. The branch broke, and Ophelia fell in, and unaware of the peril of her situation, sang songs while her clothes soaked up the water and dragged her under. The queen says that Ophelia fell in the weeping brook. Her clothes spread wide, and mermaid like, a while they bore her up, which time she chanted snatches of old lauds or songs, as one incapable of her own distress, or like a creature native and endued unto that element, i.e., water, that element. But long it could not be till that her garments, heavy with their drink, pulled the poor wretch from her melodious lay to muddy death. So the clothes soaked up the water and pulled her down from her singing melodic songs to muddy death. Everyone is upset by this news, but none so more than Laertes, who charges off stage. Claudius rues the fact he had just gotten Laertes under control again and chases off stage after him, together with Gertrude, saying, "Let's follow, Gertrude. How much I had to do to calm his rage. Now fear I this will give it start again. Therefore, let's follow." And they exit, concluding scene 7 of Act 4 and concluding Act 4 itself. Well, it sounds like Hamlet wiggled his way out of the trap Claudius had set for him in England. It was a stroke of luck they ran into those pirates, wasn't it? But what happened to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern? We will find out in one of the very last lines of the play. But suffice it to say, I don't think we will be seeing either of them on stage in this play anymore. And what do you think of this new plan concocted by Claudius and Laertes to kill Hamlet? It sounds pretty foolproof, doesn't it? It even has two contingency plans. If Laertes doesn't accidentally stab Hamlet to death while they are fencing, Laertes will coat the sharp tip of his foil with nasty poison that will kill Hamlet with only a scratch. And if both of those plans fail, Claudius will give Hamlet poison to drink in a goblet. To the victor goes the poison. And all of these plans will come to a head in the final scene of the play. And the final scene of the play is closer than you might think. We just concluded Act 4 with scenes 6 and 7. Act 5, the final act of the play, has only 2 scenes. So only one more scene to go before this cunning plan is set in motion, resulting in the deaths of pretty much every major character in this play. Well, every major character that makes it to Act 5, Scene 2. Obviously, Polonius and Ophelia won't be there. Next time, we will cover Hamlet Act 4, Scene 1, which appropriately enough takes place in a graveyard, where Shakespeare not only has Hamlet giving one of the most famous reflections on mortality of all time, "Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio," but also has a very funny comedy routine performed by two grave diggers. You won't want to miss this. Well, that's about all for tonight. Remember, please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button. Please leave a comment below as to your thoughts and ideas. And if you would be so kind as to donate to this program, please go to brushupyourshakespeare.org. That's brushupyourshakespeare.org and click the donate button. If you can make a monthly recurring donation of $5, that would be great. If you can donate $10 or $20 a month, so much the better, whatever you can afford. Your donations will keep Brush Up Your Shakespeare coming to you on a regular basis. So that's about all for now. Thank you for watching, and please join me again next time for Brush Up Your Shakespeare. Good night, everyone.